Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this edition of the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. Quick little monologue. I got to explain to you that since we recorded this podcast with Joel at the prison, things had changed. He was due to open on the 20th of June, but things happened. He was ready to open. He put lots of work into being ready to open, but Shropshire Council's trading standards got involved and told him that he couldn't open the prison. And if he did, enforcement officers would turn up and start dishing out fines. So he chose not to open then, obviously, which is the right decision. So listen out on the Facebook pages. Joel is very much on Facebook every day, and he will let everybody know when the prison is due to be open. But disregard anything you hear about the prison being open on the 20th of June, because, like I said, things changed. But I'm not going to edit it. I like keeping things organic, and I want to say thank you to Joel. In fact, a huge thank you to Joel, because ever since I began doing podcasting, I met Joel in that way. Actually, he was at Oktoberfest, and I said, "Oh, I've got a podcast. I want to cover." They had a tent up there with the scare maze. You know, I'd love to cover it for the podcast. And he was like, "Yeah, go in, have a look," and we did, and that's how we met. And I turned up at the prison, hoping to cover one of the Halloween events. And I'm still there as an actor today, and it's because of him and the amazing people that work at the prison. They're like a family to me, and everyone feels the same as well. We all work well together. We all have fun. We're all elated when we see each other. It's one of the most amazing atmospheres when we're getting ready to do Halloween events or prison break. It's always a really nice feeling. So I want to say a huge shout out to everybody I've worked with at the prison, and will continue to work with as well. You guys are like family to me, and I love you very much. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on too much about that. You've got the information you need to know. You've also got a podcast to listen to. So let's get on with it. Hit the music. Hey guys, welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast, coming to you from the Dana Prison in Shrewsbury for the first time in a long time. It's me and Julie. How's it going, Julie?
It's going well, thank you. Yep.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you in person.
I know, first time, isn't it? For 10 weeks.
Yeah, not for a Skype or Zoom screen. It's really good. It's nice that we've been able to get out and about now, because Zoom and Skype were just killing me. They were just killing me, like, because where we're staying right now, the internet has not been great, so you have to kind of sometimes it's good, sometimes it's been bad. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. It's really good. And joining us, of course, is the Don of the prison,
the governor. I got so many titles.
Joel Campbell, thanks for joining us.
No worries. I can remember being introduced once. I had when we did the comic festival a couple of years ago, and they did the sort of the sponsorship run into it on the Sabrina. So everyone went out on the Sabrina, and there was lots of different business owners there, and they were obviously talking about the sponsorship, and Jane was talking about the event, and Charlie was talking about the event and stuff like that. And this guy did an introduction for me, and it was the most amazing introduction ever. I thought I was walking on to like the Oscars or something. It just was amazing. I was like, how do I follow that?
Hello.
But yeah, no, most of the time I just get called the governor now, or that prison guy.
The prison guy.
The prison guy. It's Joel, the prison guy.
You got to own them, though, haven't you? I get the biscuit guy. I got that in the quarry last weekend when I went and did the Black Lives Matter thing, and I was talking to the press, and some guy was behind me. You're the biscuit guy, and I was like, yeah. He goes, oh, you do a good job on that. I was like, the biscuit guy. I'm used to that now.
I was never really sure about the governor when it happened, because to me I always just using my name of Joel, but it kind of happened very naturally and very just off its own back, because when I first started, I the only employees I had 5 years ago now were ex-prison officers. So I had 4 ex-prison officers that came to work here to do the tours, and because they come from they've been here for 35 years, basically been working the service, so they're all from hierarchical backgrounds, and to them I was the boss, and because it was a prison, therefore I was the governor. And they used to just come into work and go, morning, Gov, morning, boss, hi, Gov, how's it going? And it just kind of stuck, and as more and more stuff started, they just kind of went, right, Gov. It was more of a term of kind of, I guess, respect rather than anything else. And then the PR company that we use picked up on it. They were like, "Hey, that's it. You've got to be the governor, and you talk so much about different businesses and different learnings. You know, we should make everything according to the governor." And it just kind of picked up and stuck, really.
And there are worse things people can call you.
There are, and they do. You come to a lot of our events, so yeah, it does happen.
And you are. Do you know what? You're surprisingly chipper for the year you've had.
Yeah.
I mean, not even like that. The second half of 2019 was, it was turbulent for you guys. There's lots of changes being made to the prison, the walls coming down, things like that. Changes being made. Yeah, it must have been terribly difficult for you.
It was. 2019 was quite a tough year. I mean, if you're not aware, we came into this in 2015 with the premise we'd only be here for a year. So the idea, I had this great vision of what I was going to do at Shepton Mallet Prison when it initially went up for sale, in terms of taking it on, developing it into a huge tourist attraction, making it a world-class heritage attraction, and very much getting it in the top 10. So when you think of heritage attractions around the world, Shepton Prison was supposed to be in that top 10. I had a lot of passion for that. It naturally migrated to Shrewsbury just through not being able to buy Shepton. But we were only supposed to be here for a year. So 2015, the plan was, when we opened in August, be here for a year, run as a tourist attraction, move on and do something else. And that was always the plan. And then throughout the early part of 2016, it was taking longer and longer for the developers to get planning. So they said, do you want to stay for another 6 months? So we ended up being here for 18 months, and then 18 months turned into 2.5 years. And at the end of that, they went, well, actually, it's probably, we're not sure if we're going to develop it now. We might say we're not sure what we're going to do with it. So do you want to stay a little bit longer? Just stay on an undated lease, effectively. So that's exactly what we've ended up with the last couple of years. It's made it very difficult to plan and invest. Yeah. Because you don't know whether you're going to be here for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Yeah. And that's really difficult for the employees as well, because they don't know what their longevity looks like. But it did become very difficult last year in, I think it was May, because they took the wall down to clear the porter cabins, which was always part of the plan. But the first I heard of it, and there was a communication issue, but the first I heard of it was one of my staff came into work and said, "Why is there a for sale sign on the building?" I was like, "What?" And I'd walked outside, and between me arriving at work and the member of staff arriving, so about 45 minutes, a for sale sign had gone outside. I knew nothing about it, and I looked outside, I was like, And that day I had a lot of concerned employees, and I was on the phone to the owners and the agents trying to find out what was going on, and ultimately, the site got put up for sale, and has been on the market now for the last year. So we went through all of that time, but actually we had our best year to date last year. So through all that turmoil, we still managed to have the best year we'd ever had. We really grew with employees, grew financially, grew in terms of the size, grew in terms of the size of the attraction and what we were offering. Came into 2020 incredibly strong with real clarity of exactly what we were doing. We just being classed by the BBC as the number 6 dark tourism destination in the world.
I saw that.
So we came off the back of that really strong. Everything was flying. Everyone knew exactly what they were doing. Off we go. The floods hit, which did affect us slightly, but it affected us more in the sense of people just being able to get to us. We're on the top of a hill. So if Shrewsbury Prison floods, then we got bigger problems. Yeah, we got bigger problems. Although I say Shrewsbury, I notice you say Shrewsbury. I guess that's a debate for another day.
Don't, because Dee Dee will listen to this and she'll be like, "See, told you," because we have this debate all the time.
I don't say it's right or wrong. It's just what I say. And then COVID hit. And
it's been crazy. I mean, what are the plans? How transparent is it when a sale like this goes up for the prison? Do you see a lot of plans what other people have for it, or is it all confidential? Have you seen something that made you go, "No, don't do that"?
And I'm looking around, and our sales and marketing director Harriet is who's absolutely fantastic, but she's normally here to kind of keep me on a bit of a leash to a degree, because I tend to say things I'm not supposed to say. And I do a lot of that on my own social media. I get lots of messages, and she's great at sort of saying no. And she's not here. So she'll run down in a second. She's not here. So we did, and everybody that came to view it, so all the potential buyers that came to view it, I actually took them round with the agents, because it's a big building, people get lost. And also because we were on site, we were able to explain about what we were doing. Yeah, it was really, really tough, if I'm honest, because I saw people talking about, well, we could turn that into housing, we could do this into housing, we could do that into apartments. And there were some people that were really accepting of what we did and said, well, would you like to keep this part of the building and run as a tourist attraction? Would you like to buy it? If we bought the whole site, would you buy this part? If we buy the whole site, would you like to lease it?
It's like breaking up siblings, isn't it?
It literally was. So there was communications, and it was all about how are we going to make an attraction work with, you know, housing on the back or housing on the side, and how's the flow going to work, and does it have the same, will we be able to return the same financial positioning and such like that? So there was a lot of ifs and buts, and then there were some people that looked at it and said, no, we just want to do this, and we don't want you in the middle of it, we've got other plans for it, we don't know what we're going to do with it, but we don't want you there. And it was kind of like, it was very much, you're having people pull apart your baby effectively, like something you've built for years. But at the same time, that was always the expectation I had. I always knew that was the reality.
You were supposed to be here for a year, right?
Yeah, so I can't complain about it. I can't whinge or moan about it. It is what it is, and that was always the potential deal. So that was that.
What about the Chinese whispers, the locals? Have you seen some things on Facebook that made you laugh? Any rumours, like, because you know how people get?
Hotel's the big one.
Yeah.
That's always been, that's never been the plan for this place. Everyone straight away said, because Trevor Osborne, who'd bought it, he'd bought Oxford Prison and developed that into a hotel. Yeah. And that is the go-to for prison development.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to remember that out of all the prisons that have been sold, not just in the UK, but in Europe, only 2 have actually been converted successfully, Oxford into a hotel and 1, I believe, in the Netherlands into a hotel. Lots of them have got planning for housing. None of them have done it yet. So there is a whether that model will ever work. But yeah, the hotel's been one. We've seen lots of people say it should be a homeless shelter type of stuff. So lots of those kind of things, which... I saw that.
I did see that. It's really hard not to weigh in when you kind of got the biscuit.
Well, it came up recently, didn't it?
I was like, so you want to put homeless people in prison? Okay. I see that. Yeah.
And I mean, you've both been here for different events and tours. In the winter, it is cold.
I've stayed overnight, haven't I?
Exactly.
And that's not even in the prison. That was actually over in the educational block. Yeah. And that was blooming freezing.
It is. So it costs a lot. And I know with Shepton, when Shepton originally went on the market, somebody had put a bid in to buy it. There was a housing developer and wanted to build, just turn it into a housing association and effectively turn it into a housing association community, which was absolutely fine. But he was very open about the fact that, you know, once people are in there and the walls are around it, it will just kind of police itself. And you almost sort of looked again, is this like a prison with like houses? It could end up with a lot of antisocial behaviour and a lot of problems, because it is effectively
especially if it's closed in sort of site. So where do things stand now at the moment with both prisons, bearing in mind obviously COVID's sort of been front and centre?
We reopened this Saturday, so we reopened on the 20th. Both sites have been working really hard to get everything in order. We're actually very fortunate. I don't normally refer to luck too much. I don't really believe in luck, but we're fortunate in the sense of our buildings were designed for social distancing.
Yeah.
So the landings are 10 metres wide at the narrowest point. It is designed as a one-way system anyway.
Yeah.
It's got multiple sets of stairs, so we've got stairs that went up and stairs that went down, and that's exactly how it was used when it was a prison. So all we've really done is had to turn it back to run it more like a prison, which actually brings a more authentic experience for the visitor. So that was quite straightforward, the social distancing part. So we've used the downtime to build more interpretation spaces, to put more signage up, to put more information points up, to look at other events, other activities and things like that we're going to do and look more to the future. So we've secured a much longer a lease agreement down in Shepton, which will see us there for a lot longer. And then we're just in the process, obviously, discussing the purchase of Shrewsbury and what the future of that looks like. So I think, once we open, that's the key thing for us in getting the business moving again and getting people coming through.
It must have been flipping exhausting for you guys, though, because you just had to rearrange the whole prison when the wall came down. Now you're having to do it again. I mean, we've just seen Gary outside. Shout out to Gary. Like he's like...
He's putting giant bits of rope up.
It must be...
Laura and I counted it the other day. We've been going for 5 years and we've had 6 different ticket offices. 6 different points of entry over 5 years. And we moved into this new one, which we had to take a bit of a wall out.
Yeah, we saw that.
Which used to be an original door. So we just basically put the original door back in. we all turned and looked at each other afterwards, and the feeling was, can we just stay here now? Can we not do this again? Because it's over and over and over. So, but yeah, it's looking really good, and we're really pleased with where we've put it's actually helped a little bit, because I know that we've looked at the space that we're now in for the ticket office, and we've looked at that old doorway that used to be there, and we've said to ourselves a few times, if only we put that door back in, it would probably make everything so much simpler. And COVID has forced us to do that because of the way it's we need to do the social distancing. So we're really pleased with how that now looks. And the entrance, I think, coming in through prison reception is just a natural flow.
Yeah, it looks great.
What other things have you been forced to do because of COVID that you perhaps wouldn't have done?
That's a good question. What have we been forced to do? I think we've done things that we wouldn't have thought of doing, but I don't think we've done anything that we wouldn't have done anyway, if that makes sense. So, for example, things like hand sanitizers. It's not something we wouldn't have done. We just wouldn't have thought about doing it. We've got 28 hand washing stations across the site, effectively. And I don't think we'd have just naturally put those in.
Yeah.
But actually, it just kind of made sense. And,
of course it does.
Sort of looked at it from a hygiene perspective. You kind of, I think everything that happened with COVID, with you must wash your hands so regularly. And actually, I know that people will find it really tough to begin with, because their knuckles were bleeding and cracked and stuff, and they wash their hands so much. And you sort of took a step back and went, why don't we just do this anyway? So there was stuff like that. I think putting the arrows down, because we never used to have arrows, we do everything through visitors' guides. Again, have just naturally kind of made, that makes more sense now as the attraction sort of flows. So there's a few things like that that we've done. So I don't think there's anything specifically. The one thing that I don't like is having the ticket office, having the employees behind a screen, because I just feel that's quite impersonable, and we're a very customer-driven organisation. Our customer service is fantastic. The way we engage with customers is really kind of what sets us apart, I think. And having the screen, it is just an additional barrier that out of choice we wouldn't have to.
That. Yeah, exactly.
You guys have had that interactive sort of thing. You got Stacey out there. All right, guys, line up. Playing the role, making it seem as authentic as possible.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're very conversational. So if you talk about it from, for example, a selling perspective, you might go to some businesses or attractions. They're very much trying to sell you a ticket or sell you a membership. We don't. What we do is we just talk to you about what we do, what we have to offer, what you're going to see, what you're going to learn. And it's what I tend to call conversational selling is, we tell you exactly what you're going to experience, and you make the decision as to whether you want to do it or whether you don't want to do it. We're just there to provide you with the information. But once you've been on a guided tour, just amazing.
Yeah,
I was chatting to one of the caretakers at the parade the other day. Shout out to Nick. He was I was like, we're going to the prison tomorrow. And he was like, I've been there for a tour. It was great.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. It was fantastic. It does leave a good memory. It's one of those things you don't forget,
It gives you a lot of history as well for people like locally that have never been in here for the wrong reasons, but just even generally. But talking about numbers and coming back in, obviously, with the process that you've set up, are you going to work this now on a numbers game coming through? Bearing in mind, obviously, it's a huge site, and you've got all of your directional, signage and directional arrows. Are you still going to have to sort of manage the numbers to try and help with that social distancing anyway?
Yes, we will to a degree. We have put a limit of how many people on site at any one time. We've set that limit at 250. Now, realistically, we'd love to go, to get to that limit as soon as we open the doors. We'd love to be a Primark where people are queuing out the doors at 6:30 in the morning. I think the reality is that's not going to happen. I think what we're going to see, and I know Mike from Stop Coffee Cafe was saying this the other day on a call that was on with him, that he's in the same position. I think a lot of businesses are. It's going to be quite a slow process to getting customers back, and I think we'll be exactly the same. So I don't think we'll get anywhere near that number in terms of going, actually we have to hold people outside until one in, one out. I don't see that happening. The challenge for us is that we could realistically have 1,000 people on the site and not have any issues with social distancing. It's kind of how they arrive and how long they take through the flow. So we kept the number low because we looked at it. We did lots of assessments, lots of risk assessments, lots of looking at different areas where it might slow down, where it might speed up, how people will move around the building. There's no real crossover points and such like that because the landings are circular, one set of stairs up, one set of stairs down. So in that sense, we looked at it and we said, we'll stick with that figure. That's a really safe, easy number for us to manage.
Yeah.
It's really good for our visitors. It works really well for our employees, and we'll start building that. And again, we don't expect to be hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind when we're in the full flight of summer,
I was going to say
closed,
summer.
Yeah, I mean we could easily see sort of 1,000 people a day, and they normally tend to come in two waves.
Yeah.
We normally find them in the morning, so sort of between when we open from 10 to 11:30ish, that kind of hour period, and then we would normally see sort of 1:30 to 3, the after lunch kind of period, and those would be our two big entry points times.
Yeah.
And Julie, you asked a good thing with Lauren earlier. Are you guys going to be booking only, or can you pay it when you come in?
No, we'll do pay on the door as well. I mean, we have got a booking system, obviously. We try and promote people to book tickets as much as we can, especially if you come on a self-guided tour, because it's cheaper if you pre-buy your tickets on a self-guided tour.
Yeah.
So, for example, an adult ticket is £10 for a self-guided tour. It's £5 for a child. But if you do it on site, I think it's £15 for an adult and £9 for a child. So it's about £9 more for an adult and a child on the day. Than it is to pre-book. So we always advise pre-booking, but for us the process again is very straightforward. It's we're gonna book you into a system. We're gonna put everything up onto the till, and then you're gonna pay ideally via contactless.
Yes.
If you want to pay by cash, you can do. But we've got our booth as you saw when you came in, perspex screen with a small letterbox, and basically people put their money through like you would see in a bank or old post office. Yeah, like an old post office. And again, our staff will be handling money with gloves and such like that. And I think people generally now are very accustomed to paying via contactless and paying by card rather than by cash.
What I love about you, Joel, is your positivity. Like you've had one problem, then you've had another problem, and then another problem. But like you keep in touch with people that follow you on your stories, on social media, and then even when all this was in its height, you were like, okay, well we'll do some stuff online then, Facebook Live in the prison. And I was watching. I was at work for one night.
Yeah, it's been so successful, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was at work. It was very quiet. I had my phone. I was scrolling as I did. I was 15 minutes. I saw it. I was like, oh, left it in the corner on, and I was watching the numbers go up. People watching all around the world, just watching like cameras, just looking for ghosts and things.
Oh, the nighttime lives.
Yeah, the nighttime
so I was
lives.
sure about, so do you know what? And I've been trying to do this. And again, there's some real blessings I think that COVID have brought forward to lots of different businesses, to lots of people. Obviously, lots of problems, but the lives was something I knew I wanted to do something. I've been saying for years, we should do a fly-on-the-wall TV show. So kind of like the call centre used to be, and with the call centre in Wales and stuff like that. Because the things that happen here, and you've both seen it, you've both been parts of it, the things that happen sort of behind the scenes just makes such good TV, such good watching.
Tiger King in the prison.
That's literally what Paige, one of our team, said to me the other day. She was like, it'd be like Tiger King. But it was, it is like that, and it is. There's so much that sort of happens. There's so many personalities. So when we started doing the lives, and we really had to get our heads around how do we do this, but still social distancing. And it was a case of Lauren and I both had to be here at the same time to do checks together. So we kind of went, well, do you know what? If we just stay for 2 extra hours, we can do this and we can make it work. So yeah, we did that, and it was incredibly popular, and we carried on doing it. And we're not, Lauren and I certainly are not particular ghost hunters. We both sit on the fence. Stacey really gets it a lot more than us. So we didn't actually think it'd be that popular because it's just us just chatting really, and then going off and checking out different areas. And then this weekend, we've got 5 people coming to join us. 5 people that have been watching. So we ran a competition last week, so they're coming.
I saw the video.
So we've been talking about this again for a little while. We're saying, when we come out of lockdown, we'll invite some of you guys to come in and do this with us. And normally we have lots of paranormal companies in, but obviously they're not in at the moment. So we said, we'll invite some of you in to do it with us. And we weren't sure how we were going to do it, because how do you pick from 1,000 people? How do you pick 4 or 5 people? So I think it was Lauren came up with this crazy idea. Hey, let's get them to do impressions of us. That was a mad mistake. So we'll get people do impressions of us and send them in, and I felt so bullied. all these things came in, all these different impressions and photos and images and stuff like that, people pretending to be us, and they were all so accurate.
It reminds me of when you and Lauren did impressions of each other.
That's how she got to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so funny.
That was, again, purely by chance. It was Halloween, so we have a lot of fun. And when you were saying earlier about the positivity that I have, it's not always the case. I do have moments where I can be quite difficult, I think, and my staff will certainly say that. The employees will certainly say that we have a lot of fun and we have a very positive outlook in the way we do things, but we do expect results from our employees. So there is a bit of pressure in there. But one of the things we do is every year for Halloween, we every single member of every employee dresses up for the day, and they wear whatever they do for the day. And there was 1 year, 2 years ago, where I decided it would be really funny if I came as Lauren, and she decided it would be really funny if she came as me. And we just both turned up on the same day and looked at each other and was like, no, I can't believe this. To the extent that we'd even drawn each other's tattoos on ourselves and stuff like that.
So funny.
But she was amazing. She got me so spot on. And when I think when somebody copies you and they get you so accurately, you kind of look and go, wow, that's amazing how accurately they've got. And then you look and go, oh my God, am I really like that?
It's a compliment, though. I think stuff like that.
My example of that was you remember when I was growing my hair out for charity.
Yeah,
I did all that, and for some, I didn't realise, but I looked spitting image of Matt Berry from the IT crowd. Papa, and everyone just kept sharing these memes of Matt Berry. I was like, shh, stop.
You were saying about the live stuff and that, and what you guys have done, because one of the things that I think a lot of people won't do stuff like what you ended up doing, because obviously it doesn't pay, because all your live stuff, it's just free, isn't it? Nobody's had to pay to watch the nighttime or the daytime. And I guess in the 5 people that are coming in, obviously, they're just coming in. So I think the fact that what you're doing is obviously it's that build-up, isn't it, to keeping the interest there of the prison, keeping the excitement going, so that people, as soon as you're open, actually then want to physically come and have a look themselves and see. Whereas there'll be a lot of businesses that will be quite blinkered to, well, unless I can earn from that, I'm not going to do it. And I think that's what does make you different in terms of, like you say, the whole, Al said, the whole positivity about how you generate things and how you think right, okay, so it's a right pain, but how are we going to get out of this challenge and what we're going to do?
It's inspired me, though. It really has. Like, there's not just yourself, but there's lots of people that have done that. They've just evolved. I've said it along, throughout the whole COVID thing, like, the online initiatives made me sit up, because you'll attest to this. I thought that it was the end of the world and all this happened. We'd put together a mobile studio. We were going to buy a marquee. We were going to hit like the flower show, festivals. We were about to get out there, and then it all just stopped. And I was kind of like, what do we do now? And it's because of like things I saw that you were doing, Kat Merrick with yoga, all the things that the people were doing.
Joe Wicks.
That's the PE thing.
I was just kind of like, okay, let's take it a different approach. So you that's inspiring what you do.
And I think it's a really good point. And to be honest, that's probably. I could talk about prison stuff all day, the history and the tours and everything we do, and I've learned a lot. And I've been on the tours for hundreds and hundreds of hours I've spent on tours, and I still learn new things every day that I speak to the tour guys. Even today in the one in visits that Graham did, I'm still learning new things. But when it comes to business and the way businesses work and the way they run and they operate and that outlook, that's probably my real sweet spot. That's what I really understand very well. I'm a true entrepreneur in the purest sense of the word. That's what I do and the way I am is exactly the definition of an entrepreneur. And without being too sort of big-headed about it, I'm exceptionally good at it. And when it came down to looking at what we were going to do in the downtime, a lot of our staff were furloughed. We have a huge amount of costs still every month in terms of the buildings. I mean, it costs us thousands, tens of thousands of pounds we've lost over the last few months with no support. So we were looking at it, and I was going, what can we do? And I just knew that we were struggling financially as a business. I knew our employees were struggling financially as individuals. I knew my family were. I knew my friends were. I knew we were to a degree ourselves. So I could see it. I just could recognise that it wasn't a time to try and get money off people. It wasn't a time to say, hey, spend some money with us. And I could see other charities and other attractions turning around saying, we're going to go under unless you support us. Donate to us. Donate to us. Donate to us. It's like, this is not the time to be asking for money. Now is the time to give to people. And that was the ethos. And there is obviously the idea that people will see it and then they'll want to visit, absolutely. But for me, it was kind of a case of, it was around the ethos that we still go with, which is really providing value to people, and that's what we try and do every single day. I try and do that through the social media videos I do on my own channel around businesses and growth and about supporting new entrepreneurs. And just bringing value to them. And we try and do exactly the same thing as a business. With every business that we own, is bringing value in whatever sense it is. So for us, the lives were kind of a natural way of doing it. And I think that was very much the thing with the lives with Graham that we do with Officer Goodwin on a Wednesday morning, where he spends an hour in a certain area and he just talks about that area in terms of how it runs as a prison and does live Q&A. And that was all about, we're not even going to even thinking about charging for it wasn't even a consideration.
I can imagine Graham taking that to that like fish to water. He's just so brilliant.
The first one was really difficult. He found it actually quite hard, I think, and he would admit it himself. Well, if not, I've just shopped him. But he found it quite hard because he's so used to delivering tours to groups of people.
Yeah.
So to suddenly be delivering a tour with a microphone to a camera, where he's actually, and I was saying, Graham, you're delivering to 1,000 people, not 32. And he was like, yeah, but to me, there's only a camera.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of get that feel right, and by week 2 it was literally like you say, duck to water. It was bouncing off very nice, and we'll continue to do those. We'll probably change the timings of them. We were discussing that earlier, because lots of people watch them at the moment because no one's at work. But we noticed the numbers were slightly down today compared to normal because some people are back at work. We see the odd comment coming through, I've just snuck in on my lunch break, or just snuck in on my break to watch this. So we might move those to an early evening. But I think they've been really good for education as well. Those were designed to target families and children, because we do huge amounts of educational tours with schools and colleges and universities, which have all stopped. Having 2 kids myself, and you'll appreciate this, homeschooling's obviously a new thing for a lot of people. So we said, actually, do you know what, we can do this and people can tune in and they can see it and they can ask questions. We get some brilliant questions from 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds. They're fantastic. So those have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess it's filled a hole as well, because like you said, the ghost hunting YouTube channels, the most haunted, things that aren't coming around, which is great exposure for you. And then Coronation Street were here a while back. All these things are great exposure, and they're just not happening anymore. So you're like, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, and it is a case of that. And I also think there's the other aspect, and I've been promising to do a video on my own channel for a couple of days now, which I'm going to shoot later, which is all about how employees are feeling and returning to work, because a lot of people are now very used to being at home, getting paid 80%, which is obviously only 80% salaries, but actually when you take off petrol and people going out to coffee shops and bars and restaurants, a lot of people actually are finding they might even be slightly better off, and they're at home the whole time. Now they're being told they've got to return to work. Hold on a second. What?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean I've got to go to work?
Have I really got to go back?
It reminds me of Ice Age. This is my hole. I've been born in this hole.
So I'm going to do a video on kind of the psychology behind where I think that looks for an employee and where it looks for an employer. And I do believe there is a ratio of employees that will not want to return to work. And that's generally based on sort of my own experience. And looking at other businesses and speaking to other business owners.
Well, my wife works for Enterprise. She's been working from home. She's running her own little office at home, the phones and the computers and stuff. And I was saying, like, she's hard at it with, I don't know, what's that show? Do Not Declare, whatever it is on the TV when they come for airports. She watches all that crap on TV while she's working, but her productivity is high. She's working constantly. Like, do we need offices? Do we need?
I think there'll be more home workers.
There will, and I was chatting to my brother-in-law who works for a rather large broadcasting corporation that may or may not have a license fee involved. And I know he was saying he's a producer. I know he was saying that he's found so much more productivity from working at home in his office, purely because when he's wandering around, he doesn't get caught into the same conversations he might do. And he was finding nearly an hour a day extra in terms of productivity. And he turned around and said, I never thought homework was the thing, but if I'd realised I'd get this much done, I'd have done this ages ago. And he's like, and I think, a lot of companies are going to make that move to more flexible working.
I think probably what stopped companies before in the past is a whole trust element of like, what is that member of staff doing whilst they're at home? I can't see them.
And Judy.
And now, because they've been forced into it and those staff are being more productive.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely, no two ways about it. I think, you're right. I think that'll be a huge saving for a lot of companies where they might not have to have buildings and
as well,
rent, electric.
A huge shout out to the parents out there that have been doing distance learning or homeschooling whilst doing their job, whilst making the lunch, whilst doing the dishes, whilst doing the laundry, all at the same time. Big shout out to those guys. If you're one of those parents, well done. Because it is a bit.
I smile because we do that every day. My kids are homeschooled.
You do it proper, don't you? Because we had quite early on, didn't we? One of the first sort of Zoom interviews we did was with a teacher, and a mum who was trying to do obviously the equivalent of what teachers do at school. And one of the very first things the teacher picked us up, or the head teacher picked up on, was it's not homeschooling. What parents are doing is not homeschooling, which, and obviously we understood because we know what you do with your two. And what she called it like distance learning.
What you do is homeschooling because you do it properly.
Let's clarify. My wife does most. I've got to say, I always say Emma does 98% of the home education side of things.
If I did that, I'll be like, so there were 5 different Robins that were attached to Batman. Okay,
but see, that's it, and I think that's where people. I think that's where people get probably slightly confused, but also where they beat themselves up is they look at it as homeschooling, and it's not. No. It's home education, and school and education are two very, very different things. When you think about it, I don't want to get too deep into it because you'll set me off, but the schooling system hasn't really changed in the last 30 years. But if you think about the change that we've seen in our lifetime in the last 30 years, I mean, just the internet alone and mobile phones. And, I mean, if somebody had told you 20 years ago that in 20 years you'll be wandering around with this device that can do all these things, you'd have said, that's crazy. And home education is about just learning everything. It's about learning about life and everything they learn along.
I appreciate that so much.
My children really get monetary financials, and that's because they've grown up with me running businesses. They've seen me doing the banking on a weekly basis. My eldest has been there counting out £20 notes, filling in, paying in slips. She understands economics in the sense of the money comes from the customers, it gets counted, it goes into the bank, we use that to pay the bills, we use it to pay the staff, what's left over is the profits, we can get paid from some of that, and it goes back into building the business. And she understands if people don't come through the door, there is no money.
And your kids are great kids as well. I mean, I've met them. They're so sociable. They're so polite and friendly. And it's just, wow, it's great.
They got no inhibitions, though, have they, in terms of like the sort of stuff that would normally be transferred?
No, they don't. And I think, and again, I can only speak from my own experience and obviously what I sort of see and hear, but I think school does it. I dislike school for what it kind of fundamentally instills in people. Is it teaches children to do as you're told, sit there. If you want to ask a question, raise your hand and wait until we come to you. It teaches you to do homework, which is something I really disagree with, because the idea is that you've done your day at work and now you go home, you're going to do it again. And what that does is it instills a behaviour. So when you go to work for somebody in the future, you're going to work during a day and then you're going to go home and work for them again in your own time. And I don't think that homework should exist any more than I think teachers should be expected to go back from their day at work and grade in the evenings. That sort of stuff shouldn't happen.
One of my favourite quotes from one of my favourite shows, Rick and Morty, is where Rick is like, he's a scientist and he's like, school's for dumb people. And I'm like, it's not wrong. But
it's hard because I know we had to build our lives around how we would home educate, and I've got employees here that I know would like to home educate, and they can see the benefits, and they say to me, we just can't afford to. I'm like, look, you will find, if you want to do it, you will find a way to make it work. And, sometimes that kind of change is needed, but
so I was going to say, you're talking about obviously you've seen less people perhaps coming in on some of the lives because people are going back to work, etc. So talking about people starting to go back to work, because obviously there's all these different stage dates, isn't there, for different groups or different types of businesses going back. What have you already started thinking about now, what the rest of the year could look like right up till Christmas? Bearing in mind, obviously, we get different, we get government updates, daily, and things change weekly and monthly as to how people can operate. But have you already started thinking about that?
Yeah, so I've actually planned up till the end of 2022. So we've planned sort of a good couple of years in advance, because it's just how I have to, and because obviously I'm looking to buy the jail, I have to very much think about the financial positioning of it, how the growth's going to work, and the developments and such like that. So And we have looked at that. I mean, we have to use laid out models. We have to use theory of what we think it's going to look like, best guessing what's going to happen. Sometimes we get it really right. Sometimes we get it really wrong. So it's trying to analyse that. I think that what we've planned very much is that the first couple of weeks, so we open on Saturday, the expectations the first couple of weeks is going to be very slow. It's going to be very quiet.
I don't know, though. I don't know. I mean, like, we're going to Dudley Zoo for Father's Day this weekend.
Yeah.
Right? It's the first weekend they're open, but they're only selling so many tickets a day. But I feel like people have been cooped up. They've been cooped up, and they're going to want to go places. I mean, I don't know if that people in Shrewsbury are going to want to go further afield. Let's get out of Shrewsbury for a bit, or the people from Yorkshire might want to come to Shrewsbury and have a look at a prison, and maybe they've watched Shawshank and got it ingrained.
I think you're right to a degree. I think, and there was a stat that came out earlier this week after the shops opened on Monday, saying 80% of people are still not confident to go out. And I think that's it. It's all about the confidence, and that's not necessarily the confidence in what they're going to do. It's how other people are going to respond. And I've got to be honest, even watching people drive, you're kind of driving around going, wow, they've really forgotten how to drive in the last couple of weeks.
Yes. So I have been working throughout the whole thing. Right, the worst day for me driving back, because I drive back and to from Telford, is Monday morning. Monday morning drivers are just beep. They're the worst, right? And when COVID first kicked in, I was like, oh my God, the roads are so empty. It was glorious. And then when everything started getting relaxed, they were back. You know, there's the angry Qashqai driver behind you waving, go faster. You know, it was.
But interestingly, I mean, some businesses have really suffered. I mean, we've really suffered, and a lot of businesses have. Some businesses have absolutely thrived under COVID. For example, distribution. So distribution companies have thrived because the downtime from traffic jams. Is just gone because there's no cars on the road. So trucks have been able to get to their destinations quicker, so they're using less fuel. It's more efficient. They can get around quicker. So those industries have actually thrived. There's a few that have and a few that haven't. But I guess back to terms of planning. So we're not expecting to be overly busy the first couple of weeks. I think it will start building up from the beginning of July. I think the 4th, 5th of July, where the idea is that all businesses can reopen, pubs, hairdressers, barbers, those kind of things will start to reopen, and we may even see the distancing rule reduced to 1 metre. I think that will then suddenly start making people go out a bit.
Gives people more space, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think there will be a psychological piece once we hit the 18th of July, which is when the summer holidays would have started. Parents will be kind of like, hey, we're in summer holiday mode now. There's that kind of shift. So I think that will then pick back up, but we're not expecting to see the numbers. I mean, we've taken about 40% of our numbers and just binned them, and we've just gone, that's just going to go, and that's it. And we're still going to have to spend the same amount on marketing. We're still going to have to put in the same level of effort, if not greater, just to get 60% of what we would normally have been getting. And then again, we do lots of school tours, so I think those won't probably come back until the back end of October, November time, after the Halloween half term, as we like to call it. And I still don't think those will really kick back until January, because again, getting people here on coaches and stuff like that, the coach trips will be harder because
the space
is physically getting people here on those kind of trips. Productions have got a new guideline that they have to follow. That's a little bit trickier for them.
That's what I was going to ask about that. I was going to say, like, you know, big shout out to our acting family, our Dana family, you know, immersive events guys, and you know, people like Scare Track and people that really thrive for those sort of the Halloween events that you put on. Have you got any idea what you're going to do then? Or was just like, we'll deal with that?
No, we know what we're doing. Yeah, we've got a plan.
You're actually doing something, yeah?
Well, we might. I don't know if we're going to do something for Halloween this year. It's a discussion we're still having, and realistically, we need to get something out soon if we are, because last year and potentially this year, we were certainly going to let the paranormal groups have the site to do paranormal investigations. But we have, as you mentioned there, Immersive Events, which is the event company that I own. We have got a future plan for that, which is we've not announced yet, but it is in place and it's all ready to go. And again, the same with the prison. So there is certainly discussions we've had around that in terms of we know.
I miss it so much. We didn't do it this year, or last year. Sorry, should I say 2019? We didn't do anything. So everybody's just kind of like, you know, it's that picture of. What's his name? Pablo Escobar, you know, sort of wandering around his house empty, you know.
I think I managed to get one prison break-in before lockdown, and then I was going through my diary and I think, I won't be doing that one, and I won't be doing that one. I was crossing them all out.
Yeah, well, Prison Break's another great event. I mean, Prison Break's been fantastic. It's a brilliant event. Everyone loves it. It's normally really well subscribed. It normally sort of waiting lists on it. That will start back in July. It starts the third weekend of July, but it's going to have vastly reduced numbers, just because of the nature of it. And it won't really get back to its kind of full numbers till August, September sort of time. But yeah, I mean, I guess the bottom line is our expectation is to get our business back to where it was by February.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we think we're sort of thinking, somewhere between 6 and 8 months just to get the business back to where it was is the reality, and then we've got to go forward. And for us, as for a lot of businesses, that's a huge hit. I mean, it's cost us. I did an interview a couple of days ago, and somebody asked me what the financial hit was from closing on the 22nd of March to what will be the 20th of June, and it's cost us £76,000 just to stay closed. And that's what we've physically spent out of the bank just to keep our business alive. Obviously, the staff are furloughed, so that gets paid by the government.
And renovations and things like that.
Well, that's separate. I mean, that's the £76,000 is money we have to pay every single month over those 3 months. That doesn't include money that we've lost through refunding customers, because we refunded everybody. It doesn't include money that we've lost from not having bookings, where bookings have been cancelled and stuff like that. I mean, that runs into the hundreds of thousands now. And we're not in a position to get any support, so we've not had any government grants or anything like that. So we're one of those businesses that's fallen through every single crack along the way, which has made it quite difficult. But like I say, we're not an organisation that whinges and moans about it. We just get on with it and we go, do you know what?
It is what it is.
It is. And thankfully, we put ourselves in a position where we had enough reserves in the bank to be able to take us through this time. Lots of businesses, unfortunately, aren't in that position. So
I'm wondering if a lot more people, were saying about like with summer holidays and that coming up. Because obviously there's going to be less people going abroad this year. Well,
more staycations.
Probably won't be anybody going abroad this year. And with Wales still not letting anybody in, or Scotland. And I was reading something the other day, and it's linked to the tourism in Shropshire, obviously, telling people more and more people about Shropshire.
Visit Shropshire.
And because obviously we're right next to Wales, so, right on the border there, that if we can get more and more people to come into the county and visit during the summer holidays, that could be an opportunity, because obviously if you're one of those major tourist attractions in the county that's open, following all of that. I think,
Have
you been in cahoots with like the other tourist attractions in Shrewsbury as well?
Not so much other tourist attractions. I mean, there aren't really that many other tourist attractions in Shrewsbury.
No.
There's obviously the castle, which we speak to the council about and sort of throwing ideas around there. But that's obviously got the Regimental Museum in. The Flax Mill won't open until next year. So that's not fully open, and that would be great when they do, because we've got lots of plans to do work with them. There's obviously Sabrina, and obviously the museum in terms of when they have different events, and that's kind of really it. I mean, you've got loads of attractions in Shropshire, however, with Ironbridge and Hattingham Park and Blist Hill and all those great museums. There's lots to do in Shropshire, and we work very closely with Visit Shropshire in terms of what they do in terms of promoting it as a tourism destination. We're very closely with the Bids in what they do in terms of Shrewsbury and such like that. So we're very much part of that parcel, especially because we are the largest attraction in Shrewsbury. We bring the highest volume of visitors in per year. We contribute hundreds of thousands into the economy through the visitors that come through for our attractions such as that. So we're very closely connected with that. And I think that's a really key point, is more people will stay in the UK. And I think Brexit was going to probably drive that anyway, because the costs are going to go up to go into Europe because of us leaving Europe. There will be people that don't want to travel to Europe because they don't want to be part of Europe, and those that do are going to find the costs increase. So I think there will naturally be more staycations, and therefore it is actually, we can all do what we always talk about, which is we've got so many beautiful places, so many great places in the UK that you potentially never go to, because you never go anywhere else on your doorstep, do you? You always travel miles away, but you never go to attractions. And you can see that if you wander around Shrewsbury or Shepton Mallet or the local areas and sort of ask if you've been to prison. I know it's there, but I haven't been yet, because on your doorstep you just don't do it. So I think that's going to be really key.
And Shrewsbury's so unique in a way as well. It's not every town is laid out the way Shrewsbury is. It's very scenic. I mean, I work with a lot of Americans with a lot of the shows I do, and if I'm ever like walking around and I'm FaceTiming people, like they're like, "Wow, show me that building." Like Tom from the other show I do, he's like, "Show me that building. What's that over there?" They're just amazed with how things.
I bet if Americans saw the street layout of Shrewsbury, they'd have a heart attack. Hold on a sec. How do you get huge cars around those things?
Could you imagine a big Cadillac going up Fish Street?
Yeah. Well, I know we've taken the prison van. We took a ping pong table up to the guys in the back of Shrewsbury at the Prince Rupert, because the guys at Prince Rupert housed all of the homeless people from Shrewsbury. And Mike Matthews was asking if anyone could have like pool tables or football tables, and we had those just here, just lying around in the wing. So we said, yeah, that's fine. We'll even bring it up. So Graham and I and Lauren, we got the ping pong table into the back of the prison van, drove up in the prison van, drove through the tiny back streets of Prince Rupert.
Oh, wow.
Watched some of the guys that have a bit of a heart attack going, "Oh God, not again, boss, not again."
It's that bend at the top.
It is, yeah. But I watched some of the guys that are staying in the Prince Rupert going, "Oh, not again, boss, don't want to get in the van again," with the prison van turning up, and then let them have the pool table, let them have the tables. But yeah, it was letting them, obviously, like I say, be able to do that and then getting the van through the tight lanes.
Yeah. Because that's the promotional aspect of the van as well, being out and about.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's gone with a lot of the festivals all going. When you guys are normally at those, aren't you?
Yeah, we've taken the tax off it and stuff like that, because it was just they're due for renewal. And obviously we would have done all the Shropshire festivals. We do Ludlow, we do RF Cosford. We go to Birmingham to the NEC. I think 4 or 5 shows a year. We do a number of shows down in Somerset. So the van's out all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it very much is that. It's rather than us buy a marquee, we were like, no, we'll just buy a prison van. It's more fitting, and people love it, and it's great, and it showcases the attraction away from the attraction.
Yeah.
But yes, that business has been hit hard. I mean, again, being festival owners or festival operators, I think, and outdoor exhibition operators is a really tough market at the moment. They're going to struggle.
I mean, a big shout out to Beth. I mean, she's had difficult times, Beth Heath. But they've got the drive-in.
They've got the drive-in. I know that.
Festival.
That is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously on the West Mid Showground.
I got my tickets. Hope you guys are sold out now.
Sold out.
And Beth and her team. I mean, Beth is fantastic. She's so passionate and driven and so good at what they do. And we love working with Beth. We always love going to their festivals because they're just so easy
fun
to do things with. They're so much fun. They're so forward thinking. And I'd love to get them to do more stuff here in the prison because they're far better than we are, for example, at operating large festivals is what they do. And we'd love to see some of those happening inside the jail. Imagine an Oktoberfest that Beth does mixed in the prison with us doing a screen park at the same time.
It's got to happen one time. It's got to. I mean, even if you just
that would be amazing.
Even if you just had like a site A and a site B, that'd be amazing.
Do it. You would have to keep the drinking away from the screen park, though.
No, the two can float together, but I think it would work. You pick what they do in the quarry, put it inside the jail, mix it with what we do as a screen park. It's a huge.
I don't know, man. When the first year I did Prison Break, when you had me running around in this room actually as the Irish chef. It was nice when people could come and sit and drink a beer, and I could poke fun at them, and then the guard would walk in, and they'd have to hide their pints underneath the table and stuff because they weren't allowed beer. That was so much fun.
I think we just scripted you as a chef. You put in the Irish bit. You're like, no, I'm going to be an Irish chef.
No.
I was saying the other day when Alex was doing his live that he always sticks a rider in whenever he acts with us. The part of his rider is he wants to be able to wear a dress, the prettiest dressed we have. And he has to have script content. He needs to be able to, he's like Robert Downey Jr. He wants to be able to just add all the things.
It reminds me of that Little Britain. I write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Hey, we let you do it, man. You're great, and we love having you guys to do that.
And you know what? I do have to say a huge thank you to you and everybody else at Immersive Events. Me and Julie doing the show because of me nervously. I always make a joke out of how I first met you, and it's at Oktoberfest actually. And I was like, I've got a podcast, and you had the tent out there. He was like, yeah, go and have a look. And then afterwards we hooked up, and I was meant to come here and just cover it for the podcast, but I was like, I like what you guys are doing, and I carried on being the zombie, and then next year got incorporated into more things, and I didn't know anybody in Shrewsbury. I knew no one. I just moved up here, and I immediately had a room full of friends, and it was nice. And even to this day, me and Shane, who's still part of the show, we're tight. Me and Julie, Siobhan, everybody at the Immersive Events are just a big part of my life. So
No, thank you. And to be honest, that's how we've recruited a lot of our staff. I mean, Lauren, she's a real story of success. I think she's a real story of success in the sense of Lauren started with us in 2016. She came to us originally in 2015 as a zombie, as did Stacey actually and a few others. But Lauren was a zombie in our very first lockdown event, and she wasn't there out of choice necessarily. It was part of her college program. She was an events and marketing student, events student, and we were working with the college, and they said, well, we've got 6 students, so they're going to go down and do this as part of it. They have to come and act. So Lauren was one of our zombies, very quiet, very shy, and then we needed to recruit more staff, and the college said, the lecturer said, well, you should look at putting Lauren forward, she'd be great. And she came and joined us, worked in the ticket office, and then she worked in the ticket office for a while, and then she started doing more bits and taking on more responsibility, and then the opportunity came up to run a different prison, and I said, hey Lauren, would you like to leave Telford, move to Gloucester, run a jail, here's your keys. She's like, what? So she did that very successfully, and then we were like, hey, come back and run our main site, which is what she did.
She does a fantastic job. She does. What I would love to do, I've always wanted to do, but it's always finding the right tone to do it, was to get like behind the scenes interviews and things when we're getting ready for like
for the events, yeah.
Because we always have so much fun when everybody's getting dressed up and everybody's like, we hadn't seen each other for weeks, we're all catching up. That atmosphere before we go out and smash it on the scare parks. It's always great I'd love to capture that, but I think me walking around with a microphone would just kill it a little bit. It's hard to capture that. I mean, you could do like a Facebook Live.
You'd certainly have to edit out some of the swearing.
Yeah, you would. You might have to perhaps do it for you, Suck, rather than the biscuit.
Well, you could cut it out, but I think that would work really well. I think you're absolutely right, and that's what I was saying about the concept I have for what I call life behind bars, which is one of the main hashtags we use. Is very much that, is seeing what happens behind the scenes. Firstly, because it's good TV, it's interesting, it's exciting. We're such a different style of organisation. We're so forward thinking the way we do. We have very little boundaries. I really let every employee kind of run as much as they can, and I don't put too much restraints around them, so they've got a lot of freedom and flexibility to grow into their own roles and create their own roles. So we're quite forward thinking like that as an organisation. The behind the scenes stuff that happens here is just crazy because of the nature of our business and the conversations we just have just on a daily basis. What are you doing? I've just got to go and paint the cell, or I've got to go and move these bars, or I've got to go do this. I'm wandering around with mannequins all over. But it's like nothing else. And like you say, when we're doing behind the scenes of the screen parks, when we're building the screen parks, and there's people getting ready as zombies, there's people getting ready as clowns, people getting ready as doctors, and then we're doing prison break, people dressing up as prisoners and prison officers, and all the conversations. I know quite.
Where's my brain gone?
Yeah,
my brain down here.
Who's seen my cornflakes? And it's those kind of things. It's like, this blood's really tasty. It's like jelly and stuff. So don't eat it. That's not the edible blood. That's the edible blood. Has anyone seen my eyeball? Those kind of things. But it's all the other bits as well. I know quite regularly when I have conversations with people, I'm on the phone, people ring me and I'm in the wing and I walk out and say, oh, sorry, I'm just walking out of prison. And they're like, what? Quite regularly when I speak to people. And even now, everyone still sort of laughs about it. And to me, it's very casual. I remember I'll give you this one very quickly. When I first took over the jail, and I was on social media and talking about it, and my mum was sharing it, and somebody that lives in the village, come from a very small village, 400 people, and one of my mum's friends sent her a message and said, I'm really sorry to hear about Joel, I hope everything's okay, if there's anything I can do to help, let us know, and everything will be fine, don't worry, everything will be fine. My mum was like, what are you talking about? What's happened, Josh? And, well, I'd heard he'd gone to prison, and I just wanted to know we're here to support him. My mum was like, no, he's not gone to prison. He's taken over a prison. And she was like, oh, I thought he'd been sent to prison. And when my mum told me, she was in hysterics. I thought, hold on a second, what do people think of me? The irony of it again.
I always knew he'd do it.
And that's the irony of it. I was doing it on my weekly show on Join Joel, which is Thursday nights at 8:00. But on my weekly show, I was talking about it, and somebody was asking me about my school life and whether, because of the way I found school, whether that was part of the reason for home educating children. And I pulled out my yearbook, and it is, I was one of those students that was most likely to go to jail. I would either succeed or go to jail, but it wasn't a case of succeed by going to jail.
The
the irony of that, I guess.
I love what you guys do. You've got a very close, you know. I don't know. It's hard to explain my relationship with this place, but just being here now just feels nice, doesn't it?
It feels like being,
you get connected.
Innit?
You kind of when Chrissy, who's our operations director, so she's basically my right hand. She's not here at the moment. She's obviously off with because of COVID, not with COVID. And we said to each other very early on. She started about 6 weeks into the journey 5 years ago. And we said to each other very early on, it's really important we don't fall in love with this building.
Yeah.
We don't fall in love with this site because we know we're going to leave in a year. And bit by bit, we kind of both fell in love with it. And then it came to the point of going, oh my God. And now we're talking about buying it. And we're in the... What's Harriet? We're in the sort of the latter stages of getting to a point of purchasing it, and COVID has really derailed that process. We were absolutely that money that I was talking about as being spent. That is a big chunk of the deposit to go into buying the place. So we've got a lot of rebuilding to do, and we don't have a lot of time to do it because the owners will want to sell it. So if somebody else comes in to buy it, it's got to be a quick process for us, and that puts us under a lot of pressure. And when you talk about business owners taking risks, and you look at Elon Musk right at the top of the world, and sort of, and he will say, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you've got to take risks, and you do, and that's something we need to calculate now. But you do fall in love with the building, and I think that's exactly what you guys have experienced, is what a lot of our employees experience, and that's why the not knowing exactly how long we'd be here type of stuff kind of goes to the back of your mind because you fall in love with it. But because of that, you become so passionate about it that when people visit, it doesn't matter whether you're a tour guide or whether you're a CSA at the front of the house being the first person, or the cleaner, or whether you're an actor, or whether you're up in the office, you're so connected and in love with it. That passion comes across to the visitors, and the visitors fall in love with it as well.
It reminds me of like we're watching The American Office at the moment, me and the wife, and you fall in love with those characters, as quirky and oddball as they are. I mean, like for example, I was watching Matt Johnson doing his live music. He's a big part of. He's been here and he's acted with us, and he was Slicer when I was the butcher, right? And we. As he was doing his live music, I was just writing meat in capital letters, and he's trying not to laugh while he's playing his music because he knows.
And you create those friendships, don't you? And those things. And I'm very proud even if it all ended tomorrow, which it might do if people don't turn up on Saturday. Even if it all ended tomorrow, I would still be extremely proud of all our hundreds of thousands of people that have come through, the people that we've seen, the kids that we've seen that are literally already in court being told, if you're in front of me again, you're going to prison. Those kids that are coming here and going on tours and learning about what prison life's like, and hopefully it's changing their lives and they're doing something good and making the change, all the way through to we've got people that are now engaged to be married that met here, people that proposed here, people that are planning weddings here, and we haven't necessarily made that happen, but because of us being here, that's where they met, and that's where they've kind of come together.
I mean, three-fifths of the biscuit is people that met here.
It is.
Yeah. And it's nice to bring people together. And I guess because I don't know how long you've got, but that's kind of the future for the place. I mean, I don't know if you want me to. Harriet's not here, so I can talk a little bit about our plan.
We can go a little bit longer if you want to talk about what your vision is.
I'll give you sort of the vision of what we want to do in the prison, and also as a slightly wider spectrum for our companies. Because, like I say, that's what I do. Is I'm very entrepreneurial led. So the prison is a huge piece of what we do. It's one of our businesses, one of 5, obviously here and Shepton Mallet. But the plan is very much to take the historical parts and utilise or further develop that, I should say, into a heritage-led attraction. You've seen some interpretation spaces today. We've got another 12 interpretation spaces to be built, which is all prison through the ages, showing different prison times through the ages, through different cells, through a journey there. We've got a huge prison museum about to be developed. Lots of things. This entire restaurant here is due to be converted. The roof's supposed to come out. There's a big atrium on top with these lovely sets of bars across. Just lets in loads of natural daylight. We're going to put a big glass door across there, so you'll be able to see onto Sea Wing for a lovely outside space, and we'll marquee it in the winter. So for events and weddings and parties and birthdays and stuff like that, it'll be huge. The back part of the site we haven't completely decided on. So visits, chapel, sports hall, workshops. We will absolutely have, and we will probably utilise that along with the outside space for events, exhibitions, festivals and stuff like that. Education is going to become a fully dedicated event activity space.
Nice.
So downstairs will house a number of escape rooms that aren't in the cells. It will have our laser maze, new laser maze. It will have things like the angel and axe throwing, which we do. And the upstairs is going to be a permanent horror ghost walk-through tour, and that will be very family-friendly during the day and scale up in the evenings for adults and at Halloween. And then we've got so much space along the front in terms of offices. I mean, we've got nearly 1,000 rooms, including the cells. We've got loads of rooms. So I've developed something called the Business Incubation Hub, which is where we take entrepreneurs, so people that have people that want to start businesses or are just starting businesses or have the idea of wanting to start a business,
or podcasts,
and and any business at all. And it doesn't. You don't even have to be looking at it going, well, I'm going to turn this into millions and millions of pounds. If you just want to have it as a lifestyle business, this is what I want to do. I just want it to make, turn over £50,000 a year and make £12,000 so I can live, and that's what I want to do. And the Incubation Hub basically supports those entrepreneurs to achieve their goals.
Brilliant.
Rather than us go, no, Alex, come and do your podcast, but we've got to make it a Joe Rogan kind of podcast. It's got to be, turning 10 million a year. We don't do that. It's about using your goals and targeting at your goals and supporting you through that, and basically helping you not make the same mistakes that I made that got me into tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt I had to then claw my way back out of. And then something you're going to love, which is something called the Social Media Hub, which is a working name where basically we're going to do, again, we're going to kind of nurture and work with people and have almost kind of like, not quite seminars, but a similar sort of style where people can come and learn about social media. Learn about social media.
I'll be booking on one of them.
Learn about all different types of social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. And start sharing it. And the beauty of doing it here is we can do lots of connecting with people. We're connected to a number of really high-profile influencers that can come and give real advice and real knowledge. But also, because we're in a prison, we can bring people from that seminar into the site, and they can get really good, juicy content in a really nice setting and start sharing it and showcasing it. So
this is so exciting.
So those are the things that will happen in Shrewsbury, inside the prison.
Very innovative.
Yeah. And more is there going to be more being done with the Georgian prison underneath?
Yeah, and again, it's another piece. We want to rip everything out from underneath, all the new modern stuff, so all the heating systems, all the piping, get all of that out, because that's all the heating system of Victorian prison, get all the boiler houses out, so it's basically empty again, and get it back to how it originally looked as a Georgian prison. Yeah. All of this is on the scale of obviously being able to buy the building. Yeah. So that's something we're working very closely with the owners of, and making sure we can get an agreement that's suitable for both parties. But ultimately, financing it is the key thing. Buying prisons doesn't come cheap, unfortunately.
No. But like you say, you got it's sort of you was on sort of like going down a really strong route with that, and then obviously COVID
we'd have signed the agreement if COVID hadn't have hit. We probably would have exchanged and completed last month.
Yeah.
But
the plus side of it is, this probably sounds awful to other businesses, but other people are also be in the same boat.
Oh, we're not unique.
So you're back on that same playing field.
Yeah, we're not unique at all in that sense. I mean, I think we probably we are one of those businesses, unfortunately, it's just slipped through the cracks, and we haven't had the support that a number of other businesses have had, and we've got a huge amount of cost, and we have a huge amount of responsibility in terms of the heritage and looking after the heritage assets, because that's what we do, is we look after them to share and showcase to people. But yeah, we're not unique in that sense, and I'm very grateful that we planned so well over the last 12 to 18 months of looking to buy the jail. So what I did was I ensured that all of our reserves were being built up. So we had the deposit money, we had the investment to be able to put into the prison purchase, and ultimately that's what we've used to survive over the last 3-4 months. And like with every business now, we're all in the same boat, and it doesn't matter whether you're a small independent one person market stall or a small shop, or whether you're a huge conglomerate. Everyone just needs people back through the doors.
So when soon as you want people to get in touch with you, to work with you with these spaces, I guess, but you got to wait for that green light, I guess. Or do you want people to get in touch with you now?
Yeah, no, people can get in touch now. I think that's how things happen. I mean, I certainly know that when I started this business, I was tens of thousands of pounds in debt. and I didn't have a platform, and I hadn't sold a single ticket. I had nothing in place. I had no staff, but I signed the agreement on the lease and just started moving forwards because I knew it would work. So now I think, get in touch now. Why wait?
Nice. Okay.
Because it will just move. And the easiest way to get in touch with us is through our website, shrewsburyprison.com.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest, or social media. I mean, we're all over social media.
Yeah.
For
Tell people about. I mean, if you're not already aware, I mean, there's a lot of our show's small in comparison to your social media.
Yeah,
but I mean, tell people about your social media and how they can find you.
So Shrewsbury Prison is the Shrewsbury site. Shepton Mallet Prison is the Shepton site, and that's the same across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the three core ones that we use for the prisons. If it's me personally, then it's according to the governor. Again, through the usual channels. Those are the common ones we use: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
And you've got your thing at the weekends, the live.
So that streams through the Shrewsbury channel, and we share it out to the others. Because predominantly is.
I would love to come and just see that. Just to.
We did talk about inviting you.
Yeah.
It was very quick. No. We did have the conversation about inviting you in, but because you've been here so much and you've seen it, you've experienced it now, we thought, do you know what, let's bring people that have never seen it before.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem is as well at the moment, getting the pop box type interviews doesn't really work well, social distancing at the moment.
No.
But we'll have to do something sometime, even with the USUC stuff, because I'll bet some of our American listeners would love to see what goes on in a British prison.
Oh, it's amazing. I still, even today, doing the live with Graham, I still kind of look at it, I'm like, wow. It was just this idea I had. I couldn't even call it a dream. It was an idea, and I had this vision for it. And I'm all about the journey rather than a destination. And the journey has just been so much fun, and that's why I can keep a positive look on it. Because even if we went bankrupt tomorrow and I lost the business and I lost my house and everything with it, I'll still be able to turn around and smile to the fact of all the good things we've done, all the fun we've had, and all the things we've created. And life is about a journey.
Joel, you are an inspiration, and I love what you do. I love what you've done for me personally and to everybody in the town. You are running something that's very close to Shrewsbury's heritage, and I really do hope you get the prison, because I'd hate for this to become a travel lodge or something to
think about. Another set of houses.
Have you got any other questions, Julie, before we sign off?
No, my only other one wanted to ask about the Georgian prison side of it, but obviously you've answered that.
It's coming as part of the purchase, but it'll be.
I definitely am interested
21.
to hear about your future plans as soon as they start. They sound really exciting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for letting us come here today and do this. I'm looking forward to getting back to my wig and my makeup on as soon as we can.
Well, if you haven't been to Shrewsbury Prison, or even if you have been, come and visit, because we love to see you, and we love to share and showcase the history and the heritage that is prison life.
And I've got to say, it's looking fantastic. We noticed as soon as we walked in.
The differences at the front and that. So
very good. Guys, make sure you check out our website where all our audio is housed. It's www.theshrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk, and that's lovingly made for our friends at Web Orchard. Thank you very much for that, guys. And if you want to get in touch with us, our email is shrewsburybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Julie.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care.
Cool. Thank you.